This is part 2 of the SDP tutorial series. In this tutorial we're going to discuss and cover the concept of setting up your sheets. So it's a good practice if you set up your sheets right in the beginning so that you don't do too much additional work that's not required. Okay, so once your sheets are set up, you kind of working within those bounds. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is go and look at our basement. So the two floor plans we're going to be looking at are the ground and basement plans. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is start fixing the extents of these. Okay, and what's neat is once you set up this crop region, we're going to use these two tools here. Once you set these up, you can simply copy them to the level above. So we'll be working the basement and ground. Just remember, these working drawings are where you're going to do most of your modeling if you're going to carry on with your modeling. But the basement and ground floor plan we're going to set up and put them on a sheet quite early on, so that we know the bounds in which we are working. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do in basement plan, you're going to make sure that your crop region is on, and you can tell it to crop or not crop. So that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to click on the boundary and I'll say edit crop. Okay, so I know for a fact that I don't want to see the basement in this respect. I want to see some of the basement, but I don't have to have any of this information because it's underground. I can leave a bit because there will be an area of fill, for example, that we might need to indicate, but that's sufficient for now. This view will work for me. We can fine-tune these later on, but for now this is great. What you can also do is you can copy this boundary. Okay, copy, finish this command, and then you can simply go to the ground floor above and you can simply switch on your crop again. Same story, select the boundary, and what is neat about this option, you can simply delete everything in here and you can say paste align to current view. Now you can simply adjust this view, but I know that there's a balcony or a roof canopy that I'll need to show as a dashed line above here, so I want to show that extent because that's quite important to communicate beams and that above. Okay, so that's important, we need to remember that. That's great. So I'm going to finish my command now. Okay, so now we've got a clean floor plan. I'm just going to quickly neaten up my section. Remember, you can hover on this. It's a cycle option where you can cycle to the different head configurations of your section. But that'll work for now. So this section I can pull a bit tighter. But this is pretty early days, so we're not going to spend too much time doing that. Likewise with this view. You can set these up to have both heads straight away, so that's pretty straightforward. You can go to edit type, and if you go to callouts, so sorry, this goes section tags. This is what we want to play. So here you can see head and tail. You can make them the same. So let's just do that. So I'm going to copy that going forward because generally that's how we work. So let's address that quickly. Okay, great. Next thing we need to go and look at will be our elevation. So the any elevations we're going to be using will be south and west for this exercise. Okay, but before we do so, let's quickly rename these because we're going to have two sets of elevations. One set will live on my site plan to form part of my SDP, and the other set will be more detailed, which will live on another sheet. Okay, part of my floor plans. Great, so I've got south 100 and I've got west 100. I'm going to duplicate these views, duplicate with detailing. Okay, I'm going to rename this one. I'm going to make this 200. Likewise with this, I'm going to say duplicate view, duplicate with detailing, and I'm going to make this rename. I'm going to make that 200 as well. All that we're doing here is we're just classifying the scales that we'll be using. And these two elevations, you can select control, you can select both. There's another feature we can look at later to kind of copy the standards and set standards for these views. But for now, this will work fine, so I'm going to select the scale. These will be 1 to 200. You'll see a lot of this information changes. Okay. Sometimes we don't show all the information. We just want generic information for these street elevations. Okay, and there will be street elevations in essence. These two views. Okay. Yeah, the views are not, the levels are not visible, but we can address that as well. Okay, so now that we've organized our views, the last thing I need to do is quickly go and set up our. And once again, we're doing the same principle here. So I'm going to say crop. I can just simply edit boundary, delete it, because sometimes it's quicker just to draw a rectangle of what you want to see. I find that this process is slightly quicker. Okay. you can have so what I can do is here, I can have a diagonal line, because sometimes you don't want to see all of that fill, and usually we just show a line, so that's up to you. For now I'll leave it square, and I'm going to cut this as close as possible. That will work for now, and then this line can come straight back to here. And remember, we can copy and paste this. Finish that. Okay, switch my bounding box. So that elevation is almost good to go. So let's go to west here, crop, hit a boundary, delete all that. Okay, so here we're just going to simply say paste, align to current view, Control V, and here I can just simply snap it, it doesn't matter, Control Z, let me just do that again, paste, align to, okay, that's very strange, Control V, it's supposed to allow me to snap. When this option's available, if you see it, gives you a blue box, so you can actually get it almost exactly perfect. Okay, that will do. Switch that off. We'll switch off these section markers later on. For now, just leave it like this. Okay, we can just get these tighter, but generally in elevations we don't do that. 200. Okay, this is a slightly different elevation. So for the 200 one, we're going to see the full length, and we're going to use a DWG file to give us a complete picture, but let's just quickly set this up because we've got an outline. Just remember, if you've got detail line work that you can use that in the meantime. Okay, so let's just set that up. That's good for now. I usually try and get this as close to that line as possible. Okay, that's good. Switch that off, and then this elevation will be pretty straightforward as well. Okay, let's just, yeah, we'll pull the crop back on. Let's pull this close. That's good. That's good. Okay. Now these section markers sometimes do get in the way, so just move them out the way because we will fine tune this stuff. Okay, that's good. Okay, grab this last one, get as close to that line as possible. And we use detail line work here, so, and it's not a true section. I'll switch this off because I know that there's a step in front of my shop front as well, so I'll switch that off and we'll detail that later on, but for now, perfect. Okay, so we've got all our elevations, now it's just our section. Okay, section. And this is a basic section. We'll create more detailed sections later on, but for now this is perfect. Okay, pretty straightforward. Copy that. Let's copy that. That's good for now. Okay, and we've got enough fill. So here we can add a bit of fill. Sometimes what I try and do for the section is I provide a bit more. My apologies, I clicked the wrong button. Switch that back on. Okay, let's pull this down a bit. Here we're going to add some more details, and let's give it a bit more clearance. Great. Switch off that. Okay. So now we've got our section. Let's just rename this. Call this section AA. AA. Great. That's good. Okay, that's all good. Okay, so now we've carried off because we've got a site plan already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop some of the site information. I'm going to make it smaller for my SDP. Okay, and I'm going to put a series of elevations down here. Then I'm going to create a new sheet where I'm going to put my plans. And let's just quickly populate this sheet before I populate the other sheet that I'll be using for my SDP. So here I'm going to put my floor plans, all 1 to 100. So very nice and neat. Basement, ground floor. This is quite typical. We work from the ground up, and we'll have to start using some north points and those type. And if you hover, you'll see things will try and line up. So let's just move that up. You want to try and line this information up just so that it reads well. Okay, that's good for now. Let's grab that, we can fine tune. Great. Let's go to my elevations, west. Okay, we can see where we put this. Okay, oh, there's plenty of space, so that elevation can go over here. So we've got some space for our section over here. And then south. So what I'll probably do is put south first and put this guy on that side, yeah. So let's do that. So it looks rough at the moment, but you'll see it will start making a lot more sense shortly. Okay, so that works well. We can move that across, start using our sheet more effectively. That will work well. Pull that to the side. Don't worry about the labels for now. We'll fine tune that in a second. This information we can pull down a bit. Then the last thing we need to do is just pull in our section AA. Okay. So what happens is when you start pulling these views in on a sheet, perfect, that works well. Okay, so this we can. So yeah, it's going to take a bit of organization. That's up to you. Okay, you could actually put your section at the top here at the elevation, have the small elevation here, but this works. I've got space to make this work, and this I can move down here. This I can move a bit over here, get these in line. So these should line up as well. That'll work well, because then we can read. Yeah, so that works well. South, west, and section AA, and then your floor plans. Okay, so it's a very basic layout. It's a very small building, and you're trying to put all the information together. So select all your viewports. You can select everything, and you can simply use the filter tool. You can make sure that all the viewports are selected. If there's other objects selected, uncheck those. Okay, and then you can just simply say okay, and you said I'll select all of those, and we're going to change our title with no line. Now the one thing I have noticed that's missing here, I need to put the scale reference here. I know it's 1:100, but it doesn't read that well. So grab this, go to edit type, title no line. So go to edit type. Here we need to find this. Let's fix this quickly. We need to find that anno title. So let's leave that. You can take a quick screenshot, but I can Control C, copy it, and then what you do in families is you go to families. Okay, you go to families, and you can simply. I know in the past it was a search function, but if you go to annotation, let's grab this, pull this. Let's just go back there again. Sorry, that was a waste of my time doing that. So we're looking for anno view title. So it's anno view title, no detail. No, okay. So that, you go to edit. Just edit the family very quickly. This is a brief introduction into families, how they work, but there'll be more comprehensive videos. So all that's going on, this text is a label, and you can give labels certain heights, etc. But you're just connecting the project parameters with the family's parameters. That's all that you're doing. So all I need to do is select the scale, edit type, and you'll notice there's a prefix section, so we can say scale. Okay. And you can simply use that and a space. Okay. That will work well. That will work well. So let's load into project. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make it all caps lock. It just reads better. Okay, so remember you must edit the label, not the symbol. Okay. And then a space, done. Space is important. Load into project. Overriding existing. So now that reads a lot better. Okay, so west elevation scale. Okay, section AA. Now you can start moving this information. So what I do now is I try and put the text in line with the building. It's important that we do this, because you'll see now from a legibility point of view, it will start making a lot more sense. So this one, we try and line this up. Here we've got a difference because there's a difference in that one. It's including the basement, that's not, but that's fine. Okay, right, we'll sort that out now. The last thing we do is, when you notice when you put these views on the sheet, each view gets given a detail number. What I tend to do to make my section AA works, if you see the section AA, it's a nice little hack that we do. All that the number is telling you it's on sheet 2. So if we have a look at our sheets, we're on sheet 2. But technically, we're going to start with the 100 series. So you'll see that that value would have changed to 100. Okay, so it's a detail number. If I change this to A, what will happen if I go A? You'll notice that my sections on my plan will start reading correctly. So that's starting to work well. That's good. This is starting to look good. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just go and switch off my reference planes and set up some sort of standard for these views. Okay, but that's fine. Let's just pull these guys into position as well. That's good. I can move this down here. We might have to nudge things up and down a bit, but that's enough because I know the bounds in which I'm working. Okay, I've got some row dimensions that I can get rid of later, and I've got to do some detail line work here, but that's fine. We'll tackle that in the next series of videos. So that's good. Set up my sheet. Here we can just title, so you can say save a bit of space, what we tend to do is we grab this and we just use the AND function. Okay, that works fine. Great. Brookland, just complete your details. I'm not going to do that for now. Okay, but that's good. Close this view. I'm going to go back to my site plan and I'm going to drag and drop my, let's close this guy. I'm going to say save. Let's just close it. It's going to ask you to save it. I'm just going to say yes, save. I'll save this and I'll send this to you as well if you want this. Okay, I was looking for the right, yeah, there we go. Okay, good. Alright, good. Let's close that. Okay, let's just save you, close hidden. Try and keep a lot of your tabs closed, because the more tabs you have open, the more resources your computer will use as well. So just bear that in mind. Site plan. Okay, so we've got the beginnings of a plan. The only thing I need to do now is add. So I'm just adding these. Oh, sorry, wrong view. Oh, apologies. South to, that's what I'm looking for here. Okay, just change that 1 to 200. That should have changed to 1 to 200. Okay, good. Okay, then I'm going to lock and align these two. And I'll put them right at the bottom. I'll put them over here. Okay, so let's just move these guys in line here. Getting these sheets does take a bit of time, especially depends how you've been drawing, but here, okay, and I'll show you something quite neat with these plans, what we tend to do from time to time. Just remember, select these two viewports. You can select all viewports. Just remember, you can do that trick again. Make sure it's just viewports, and you can simply say here, no title line. Okay, that sorts everything out. This one had no title because I had put, I'm just going to say no title. Actually, I'll put it back. Scale 1 to 200, and I can rename this. So you can rename. Let's have a look here. So here you can see that's the name of it in the view section. But Revit's got a section here where you see title and sheet, and I can say site plan. Okay, that reads well. I can move this guy. Let's put it in here in the corner. Let's move this guy. Put that over there. In our north point, we're going to move to the plans. It's important to move this back to the plans so that we understand the orientation. This plan, edit crop, I'm going to, select the viewport, activate view. Here I'm going to select the crop region and I'm going to pull this up until presto. Okay, that reads well. And I'm simply going to end. Yes, there's some information, so let me explain what's going on there. So when you crop a view, you have to enable crop annotation. Then it will crop annotation as well. So that's very important. Okay, crop annotation. Okay, and I can pull this boundary close. Great. Okay, now in this view, I can move this guy into position, and I can move this into position. I'll try and keep these on the same level. Nudge it down, get in line there, nudge it down. Now there's small little gremlins that we need to go and address, and that's what we're going to cover next. So you can see the levels are missing. Here we can see the levels, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't quite work. The first thing we need to consider, so let's go to my section AA. Okay, section AA. So what's going on? I'm using a scope box to govern my grids, my levels. However, what you need to understand is that these things have a 3D, the levels have 3D extensors, and it's defined by this open dot. So let me get rid of the scope box for now and explain what's going on. So here's the level, and here's the 3D extents. If your elevation marker was here, and this wasn't past your elevation marker, these levels won't show. So to get around that, what you do is you pull your 3D extents in that direction, and here we pull our 3D extents in that direction. We also maybe have to do it from another section in case, but we'll address that now. And if I go back to my south elevation, that's starting to work better, and if I go to west now, that's working well. So these I just need to pull a bit further. Okay, that's good for now. Let's get it out of the view. And this elevation is purely, it's just to give the planning examiner an idea, or give them an idea of what you were looking to do. So I can just check the crop again. That all looks good. and I might just extend this up. It doesn't really have to. Yeah, that's good for now. And then switch this off. Now we're going to define my scale 1 to 200 views settings. So the first thing I like to do is I like to put on some shades so they read the elevations a bit better. Okay, and to make it not as harsh, I go to shadows. Sometimes we switch this on and off. I don't like it that much, but then I just change all of this to 30. Just makes it a bit softer. Okay, so it just makes these elevations read better. So they can understand and read these elevations better. Okay, you can also change the time of day. So here you can pick lighting. Here you can say still, single day, so you can do a proper, but I'm just going to say lighting for now. That's good, and you can change this degree. So just maybe say still. Here you can pick a time of day. Okay, so you can pick a range of time. Just make it midday. Press apply. Yeah, that reads better. Okay, so that reads better, and I'll do the same. Okay, so the still single day, you can copy this and we can use it in the other one. So just remember these settings. But what's neat is, and then now we're going to go to VG, and we're going to make sure in annotation that no sections are showing. So just go to sections section for me, and you're going to switch off sections. Elevation markers, we don't want any elevation markers, and we don't want any reference planes or reference lines. You might have to come back and switch it on and off. Don't use the hide option because it has other implications which sometimes not that desirable. So this is the best way to do it. You can also use the reveal icon, and you can simply click on the hidden objects and you can say unhide category. Okay, if you've hidden one object, you can see here unhide element. Okay, so in the say toggle, that's fine. Now what I want to do is I want to capture these settings and use them again and again. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say create view template. I'm going to call this. That's it. Press OK. Just make sure that you apply it here. So what's good about this option now is if I go to south elevation and I simply go here view template, then I don't have to spend time trying to set stuff. Everything will work fine. Okay. Now the only problem that I have is that the shadows don't work. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put an override to allow me to control the shadows. So here in shadows and lighting, here I'm going to go and change. I'm going to change that setting in here. So we just need to go to the sun settings. I just need to find that very quickly. It's in lighting. It was here somewhere. I just have to find the time of day. Okay, so let's just uncheck lighting for now. So let's say that and press apply. So what this allows me to do now, it allows me to go to sun settings, and I can simply go and change the time of day. So let's just make this early in the morning because I want the sun to be. So let's make this at 9 in the morning. Press apply. Okay, let me just play with this sun settings. Let me just change this to maybe 6 in the morning, 6. Okay, in this instance, I might just go to a still day, lighting, press apply. So this is pretty generic for an elevation. Okay, all it's doing is it's just making sure it shows you the shadows just so you can understand the view better. Okay, so let's just go back here again. I can enable that again. My apologies, I should have left that here. So this is my lighting. Let's just switch that lighting off. So for these settings, I want to control that, press apply. Okay. Go back here again, sun settings, and I'm going to go back to still. I'm going to go to single, still, lighting, sorry, that's all good. Press apply. Okay, if you're changing the altitudes, but generally you're changing this degrees, okay, if you want to change the settings, but that's good enough for now. Just remember, we might draft this information, I might have to switch off the shadows later on to portray this elevation better, but the rest of this information will be quite grayed out. Okay, so because we're focusing on this building, this is just context. Okay, great. Now if we go back to our sheet, I just want to start showing you how your sheet will start developing. Now you can see that my SDP is almost pretty much this. These series of elevations are pretty much done. I've just got to add some more information here, but you can see my sheet is pretty neat. Okay, I'm going to say site plan and street elevations. Okay, good. So that's good. That's very neat. You can see that they're looking good. Everything looks great. Okay. Alright, so that's good. I'm happy with the results of that. My north point I can actually move up a bit more. Put that there, move this here. Okay, good. Put this a bit closer. Okay, so it's a bit of nudging here and there. Okay. But this is not correct, so here we need to say, so you can give the names, but generally we just say street view south, or street elevation, so maybe let's just rename that street. Okay, and this will be, what's nice is we're going to use the same, but we're just going to change the, so yeah, I've selected the previous one and I'm just going to change this to west. Okay. Okay, so now we've got a nice crisp drawing, and it hasn't taken me long. Yes, I've got to add some detail in, but you can see now I can work on this view quite happily, but everything's set up on my sheet perfectly. Okay, let's just go back to our floor plans. Okay, with our floor plans, so now this is where things start getting a bit interesting. Okay, with our floor plans, the first thing we need to do is bring back our line weights. Okay, so we can see what we're dealing with. Now, out the box, this doesn't look bad, but what we tend to do is if you go to VG and you go to a setting here, so we just move this out the way, and you go to change cut lines, and we're going to use functions now. So structure will be 6, substrate will be 5, thermal air is usually, and then finish that will be 3. Okay, 1, so I usually make that 1 and I'll make that 2 for now. Press OK, and you'll notice now that this will look a lot better. Okay, yes, we've got plaster lines. If it's not visible, that's okay. But for this exercise, not much has changed. But you can see my structural columns now, because it's a structural element, is slightly thicker than my masonry walls. Okay, so now this is starting to read quite well. Here's concrete, this is masonry. Okay, so that was quite easy and easy to do. I'm going to start sorting out these grids. Let's grab this here, grab this point. I'm going to get them closer. I might have to move them out again later on. Okay, but here I'm just getting them closer to the building, and I'm going to switch off my crop region. Okay. Okay, let's do that. When I start doing some dimensions, we'll have a look at that now, and that we'll just do as well. That'll snap, yeah. Okay, good. I know that there's another grid here, but it's not visible in this view. That's good. Okay, so yeah, it's up to you. You can change the heads of these grids to either side. That's totally up to you. Okay, it depends how you want to read these. And I need to switch off my reference planes. Okay, so VG, okay, annotation, reference planes, switch that off. You still want them in your construction views, but you want to keep these clean. Okay, so you can see they're nice and clean. That's all lining up nicely. Okay, that's good. Basement kind of sorted. We might have to pull this a bit closer. I usually pull this close and then work. It depends. It depends how the dimensioning goes. So we'll have a look at that shortly. Okay, that's good. It's a bit tighter. It's looking a lot neater. Same story. Right click on the view. So you're going to go to right click, duplicate, create view template from view. You're going to say floor floor plans, and you can transfer these standards. There we go. Press OK. Alright, and then you make sure that you apply it here. Go to ground floor before we do anything else. It's just this, because it'll fix a whole lot of stuff. Now if I go to VG, okay, you see it's all set, done. No reference planes, saved myself a hell of a lot of time. Okay, so grab this section head, grab that guy. This is a little finicky, but it doesn't take that long. You can set these up to have different types, but I find it's not a lot of work to do. And these grids, these levels will start all working together, so we can get that quite tight. Yeah, we can get that quite tight. Okay, as long as you can read where they are, that's important, that we can get quite tight. Switch off your crop. Okay. Now that one didn't snap with that, it should have. So let's snap that. They'll start working together. Now they'll all work together quite neatly. And then I can grab this lot over here. We'll use some filled regions to show the adjacent building. I'll explain how we do that here. I'm showing the staircase because it's shared, okay, but I'll show like a grade line and I'll grey out the area shared by my neighbor. Okay, that's good. Let's pull this a bit in. Okay, these you can leave like that. That's good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, so here we've got a hand railing, that type of thing going on. Okay, so we've got hand railings, so that's fine. That's just telling you that there's a building line there. So that's important that that's there because there's a building line. Okay. I know it's thick, but we are on the boundary and that's fine. Okay, so that's not a problem. So maybe this thing needs to be offset by, I might have to offset that by a moment. But for now, I'm going to leave it as is. Okay, got our stairs. We can start playing with these markers. These stair markers, if you click on them, you go to edit type. Just make sure that it's 1.8 century Gothic. Everything else is fine. Okay. You can change this distance to cut lines and all those type of things. And that's just the line in which it cuts. So technically we could have a store underneath here. But for this exercise, I'm not going to worry about it. But you can see the line weights are working great. Your hidden lines are looking really good because it's showing you there's a staircase above. These do get tricky to read, but you'll make sense of it. And here we've just got some symbols to show me that there's a sliding stacking door. So I'll need some sort of detail where these doors stack to. So here we'll need to make some sort of a call how these work. I might have to flip them, we'll see. Okay, but for now, I think these are all fine stacking to the side. So what they do is they like a stacking and folding, and then but we've got detail line work we'll do there, but that's fine for now. So as long as that works. Last thing I'm going to go do is go to section 100. Same story here, but these are pretty. Switch this off, hide and view. Okay, let me undo that. Let me just do that again. So let's go to VG. So I'm going to go here, sections, switch those off. Elevations, don't want elevation markers, sometimes they do appear, you don't want those, and reference planes, you don't want one either. Reference planes, switch that off, press apply, press OK. Okay, very nice and neat. Okay, good. Just remember we'll have to hide this and show it cut closer to the building. Okay, but that's fine, we can do that. Okay, very neat, looking good. Okay, then duplicate, creating a viewport, creating a view template, create view template. I'm going to say 100, press OK. Okay, and then you're just going to go and say, sorry, my apologies, here we're going to go and say elevation 100, okay, west. Okay, so this, we just need to move this out the way a bit. But 2 clicks and we sorted. Okay, it's Power Revit. If you start using this software correctly, you'll see your life will get a lot easier. Okay, great. That's all looking great. I've got enough information there. Everything's reading well. Okay, great. Section. What's interesting is we can apply the same rules for that elevation 100 to this view. Okay, so let's do that quickly because that's going to save us a lot of time. Watch this elevation 100 because it's the same scale. Okay, the only problem that I've noticed is that this should be, okay, so let's fix that. If you've got an error, you're going to go here, elevation, so now we need to see detail level. Here it's saying it's coarse. If you change this to fine, they will all change. Press apply. Just remember we've got different levels of detail. Now our line weights are good. We'll connect these walls later on, but everything you can see this reads quite nicely, very crisp. These columns, however, they're on a different, so these columns I'll explain later. So to address that, very easy. You go to elevation and you're going to go to visibility graphics and you go to model and you're going to go and grab your structural framing. Just bear in mind, this is important. If you change, you'll need to make a concrete one, but generally if you go to object styles, my apologies, and you go to structural framing, if you change this, all structural framing, if you've used steel and concrete, there's another rule that we apply, but if everything's concrete, I can just simply say 6 here, line weight 6, and you'll notice now that that issue would have been addressed in one click. Okay, So that's reading very neat. Okay, so that's all good, reading well. Okay, these slabs actually must be 125 surface beds. I'll address that now. These are actually 125 surface beds generally. Okay, with the big thick toe here where we have a beam, ground beam running. But generally, that's what they look like. Okay, it's a surface bed. Here we've got a concrete, and here we've got a concrete roof. That will also show. If you go to edit type and you go here, if you change this to structure. So once again, let me explain this as well. So if we go to elevation and we go to visibility graphics and just go to model and you apply this rule, same rule, line weight 6, structure, substrate is usually 5, okay, thermal 1, 2, 1, press apply. So what it's done is it's overridden the roof for me. Yes, it's just showing you how the beam comes in, but there's a technique. The reason why they don't look the same is because they're different materials. That's why it's showing the cut line. But we can change that. These ways we can do that. And you can see these junctions where these roofs don't connect correctly. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. I can fix that. I can just say attach base to that. Likewise with this wall, there's a wall in the distance maybe that I just need to say attach base. Okay, but this is stuff that we can tackle later on. Okay, I'm not worried about that. That's a beam, I think. Yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, the wall, the roof has a slight. Okay. Now we've got a ceiling void that we need to draft, and I'm not going to model that information. I'm going to draft that, and you can see some of the stair details missing. So as the steel winds up, it is there. You can use wireframe. And we can address that. Okay, now if we go to our sheets, we'll come back and we'll start in our next video, we'll start sorting this information out, but I just want to get this all neat and get our view set up correctly. Okay, and you can see here we've got a step view and how we tackle that, but that will be in the next video. Now if we go and look at our sheets, it'll be a dramatic difference. You can see straight away, we now have a lot more space to work with, and the drawings are fairly neat. Okay. Just try and keep these locked in a line. I might pull this up because we can use the space for some information that we might need to put in our plans. Okay, but that's good. I'm happy. This is starting to read well. Let's just get this in the right location. That starts there. These drawings are black and white, but I know a lot of companies now use color in these views as well. Okay, so that's all good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's. Cancel. I'm going to move this up a fraction. Okay, so what we do have is we've got some space here. So let's move these two up so I can make this work a bit better. Okay. So maybe we want these to work together. Or maybe we make these work together because that's more reflective. Okay, so here you can read there. So it's quite neat how that works. Okay, you can move this guy up to there, and this one I can move down a bit. And the last thing we need to do, this is very, very important, we need to move our section marker onto this view. Okay, so here we're going to go to our site plan view. Site, you can go to site working, but if you click on the project base points, the tab until you get to the project base point, you'll need this angle, so you'll need to rotate that north point by that. So copy that, rotation. Okay, go to your sheet, Control C. By the way, that's if you go to architecture and you go to annotate and you go to symbol, any symbol objects work on sheets. And here is my north point. If I put this over here and I'll go to rotate, very clever, so you don't make mistakes, Control C. But I can just put this over here and control that over there. Okay, I'll try and always keep it with my notes. Okay, important. You can only put one if you want, that's totally up to you, but I prefer to do that. So here, this one I need, so I'm going to say west west elevation. Sorry, sorry, that's my mistake. West elevation, enter, and this will be south. Click on this one. Your north point is giving that away in any case, so it makes it easier to read. Likewise, you can just say west elevation and change that, double click, south. Okay, south elevation, west elevation. Good. Everything's lining up nicely. We'll trim this a bit later on, but my sheet's set up very nicely. And already, this is a basic. All I have to do now is add annotations and some basic drafting information, and then we're done. Okay, so I'm going to tackle the next 2 series of videos. I'll tackle the floor plans, the elevations, and the sections as separate. Okay, because technically, these sheets are done. Okay, so that's all done. Everything's done here. That's all good. Okay, so now we can see this is starting to work really well. Okay, all right.